There's a thought that doesn't show up all at once. It builds quietly. In small moments, you're going through your day like usual, checking your phone, replying to messages, maybe scrolling for a bit longer than you meant to, and then you notice something. No one has really reached out to you, not today, not recently, and it's not like you don't have people in your life. You do. You talk to them, you see them, you stay connected, in some way. But still, there's this feeling you can't quite explain, like you're there, but not really seen. Like if you disappeared for a while, it might take some time before anyone truly noticed. And that's when the thought quietly forms. Do I even matter to anyone? It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. But once it's there, it's hard to ignore, and over time, it can start to feel real. Imagine someone going through a completely normal week. They wake up, get ready, go to work or school. They handle their responsibilities. They show up when they're needed. They respond to texts. They laugh at the right moments. They keep conversations going. From the outside, everything looks fine. They seem present, engaged, part of things. But inside, it feels different. There's a quiet distance. They start to notice patterns. They're usually the one who reaches out first, the one who checks in, the one who keeps the connection alive. And when they don't, things go quiet, not completely, just enough to feel it. One evening, they're sitting alone, maybe on the couch, maybe at their desk. Their phone is nearby. They pick it up, check for notifications, and then put it back down. Nothing new. And it's not just about the phone, it's the feeling behind it, the sense that no one is really thinking about them in that moment. Later, they remember a time when they needed someone. They thought about texting, about calling, about saying, "Hey, I'm not doing great." But something stopped them, a quiet hesitation. What if I reach out, and it doesn't really matter? So they didn't. They stayed quiet, and no one noticed. Moments like that don't seem big on the surface, but over time, they add up, and slowly, a belief begins to form. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Maybe I'm just not that important. But here's something important to understand. That feeling doesn't come from nowhere, and it doesn't mean what it feels like it means. In psychology, there's a concept called perceived significance. It's the internal sense that you matter to others, not based on facts, but based on patterns your mind observes over time. Your brain is constantly trying to answer one quiet question: where do I stand in other people's lives? And it uses small signals to figure that out. Who reaches out first? Who follows up? Who remembers small details? Who makes time? When those signals feel inconsistent or one-sided, your brain starts to fill in the gaps, not with certainty, but with interpretation. And often, that interpretation leans negative, not because it's true, but because the human mind is wired to notice absence more than presence. If someone shows up for you 10 times, but misses one important moment, your brain holds on to the one that was missing. There's also something else happening. Over time, people fall into roles in relationships. Some become the ones who ask, some become the ones who answer, some become the ones who support. If you've been the one who listens, who shows up, who checks in, people may come to see you as stable, reliable, okay. And when someone appears okay, others feel less urgency to check on them, not because they don't care, but because nothing signals that something is wrong. There's also the role of emotional expression. If you don't often share when you're struggling, people don't always know that you are. They assume, and most of the time, they assume you're fine, not out of neglect, but out of limited awareness. Another layer is something called emotional filtering. When you already feel unsure about your place in someone's life, your mind starts to filter experiences through that lens. You notice what's missing more than what's present. You remember the unanswered message, but forget the times someone showed up. You focus on silence and overlook quiet forms of care. And slowly, your perception begins to shape your reality. You don't just feel like you don't matter. You start to believe it, even when the full picture is more complex than that. So what does this really mean? It means that feeling like you don't matter is not a final truth. It's a signal, a reflection of patterns, perceptions, and unspoken needs. It doesn't mean you are unimportant. It often means your needs haven't been fully visible or fully understood. There's a difference between not mattering and not being seen clearly, and that difference matters because it means something can shift. Sometimes, people don't respond the way you hope they will because they don't realize you need something different. They're responding to the version of you they see, the strong one, the independent one, the one who's always good. But that version is only part of the story, and if the other parts stay hidden, people can't respond to them. This doesn't mean you have to change who you are or suddenly share everything. It just means allowing small moments of honesty. Letting someone know when something feels off, saying, "Hey, I've been a little overwhelmed lately." Not as a demand, just as a signal, because connection depends on visibility, and visibility creates opportunity for response. It's also important to recognize balance. Not every relationship will meet you in the way you need, and that's okay. But over time, it helps to notice where effort feels shared, where presence feels mutual, where you don't always have to be the one holding everything together. Because you deserve connections that don't leave you questioning your place in them, and sometimes that means slowly shifting your energy toward people who show up in ways that feel real, not perfect, but real. If you've been feeling like you don't matter to anyone, pause for a moment and consider this. That feeling didn't appear randomly. It formed over time, through small moments, missed signals, unspoken needs, but it is not a fixed truth about who you are. You are not invisible, you are not forgettable, and you are not less important than anyone else. Sometimes, you've just been seen in a limited way, as strong, as steady, as someone who doesn't need much. Even when you do, and that disconnect can feel like being unseen. But being unseen is not the same as being unimportant. There are people in your life who would care if they fully understood what you've been carrying, and there are people you haven't met yet who will meet you with the kind of presence you've been missing. Until then, it's okay to take small steps toward being seen, not all at once, not dramatically, just honestly, because sometimes the feeling of not mattering begins to change the moment you allow yourself to exist as more than just the version of you everyone is used to. And slowly, that quiet question, "Do I matter?" starts to feel a little less heavy and a little less uncertain.